Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to Under the Arch Sports. I'm Eric Hobbs,
And I'm David Woldingen.
and it's time for us to preview Mizzou as they travel to St. Louis to take on the Memphis Tigers. Before we get into that, I need you guys to go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on X. All right, David. So coming off, big win over Kansas State. There's only one thing Mizzou fans watching this video want to know. Did you rush the field, David?
Not at all. I was in the south end zone where there's no access. So I got pictures, just didn't rush.
Oh, well, there you have it, everybody. Now then, that win is gigantic, potentially season defining, potentially program defining down the road. But it means a whole lot less if Mizzou does not take care of business this Saturday against Memphis. This game in St. Louis because the AD bought Memphis out of what would have been a road game at the Liberty Bowl. So thank goodness for that. Desiree Reed-Francois cleaning up Jim Sturck's mess there. Don't get me started on that one.
Shameless plug, if you're looking for tickets, use B Hawks in the code section. You get $25 tickets in the lower level.
Oh yeah, the Battlehawks trying to hook you up. That's right. That's posted last week. We posted that on our social media, so check that out. David, we finally saw, I guess, the true Missouri offense in a podcast with Chase Daniel. Drinkwitz admitted that, yeah, he kind of did hold back the playbook just to kind of surprise Kansas State. And hey, it worked, but I think now the cat's out of the bag. Now Missouri fans know what to expect against this Memphis defense.
Yeah, and I have to wonder if they're going to tame things down a little bit, because if you miss the press conference or whatnot, Brady Cook is day-to-day with his sprained knee or whatever.
Yeah, Drinkwitz called it a hyperextended knee with a bone bruise.
So if he does play, I expect them to have a lot of plays, short pass plays where he doesn't have to move around, get the ball out quickly, kind of back to our old mode, if you will, with the last two games. So I don't see a lot of major plays and things unless you have Luther Birding breaking out for a huge play.
Yeah, so yeah, I talked to my wife. She's a nurse. And what she said is that to a certain degree, part of it could be pain tolerance. Now, she obviously has not treated Brady Cook, right? But I think if pain tolerance is a big part of it, I think you're going to see Brady Cook out there gutting it out. I mean, he's getting to play in his hometown, coming off such a huge game. Yeah, he's going to be out there. I feel confident.
Well, not to mention last year he played with torn labrum all year.
Yeah. Is what his playing may be limited, and that could impact play calling. We'll see. The other injury that has me kind of interested is Marcellus Johnson. Took over at right guard last week in place of Cameron Johnson, and he injured his ankle. He's day-to-day as well. It's one of those where we're kind of wait-and-see mode. So yeah, this offense could be a little bit limited going into the Dome against Memphis. It's something where we just don't know. What we do know is we finally saw the explosiveness. If for some reasons Brady Cook can't go, and I think he will, but if he can't, Sam Horn will have the opportunity to make some of these throws. It's just a matter of does he have the discipline to know when. That's something, maybe we won't find out because Brady Cook is fine. I think a good sign going forward. Cameron Johnson performed well against Kansas State, better than he had in the first two games. So that's good. And especially, you might be able to get Marcellus Johnson limited reps let him heal, right? So that's good. Now, David, let's talk about Memphis. They're kind of an interesting team.
Yeah. On offense, they have over their 3 games 791 passing yards by Seth Hannigan, 5 touchdowns, 3 picks. Then their running back Blake Watson
He's a
has
playmaker.
yeah, he is a playmaker. He has 15 catches for 130 yards, which is tied for the most on the team. Has a touchdown passing wise. Running wise, he has 40 carries, 295 yards, averages about 7.4 yards per carry with 4 TDs.
Yeah, I think number 4, Blake Watson, transfer from Old Dominion. He's been dynamic for them. I think he will make or break the Memphis offense in this game and going all season.
One more worth mentioning is a former Mizzou player, Towski Dove,
Yeah.
is playing for Memphis. He has had 4 receptions, 124 yards, and a touchdown as well.
Yeah, so he's not their top receiver, but he is a factor for the Blue Tigers. And just looking at my notes here, that that they've been pretty solid offensively. It's all about the competition. We'll talk about that in a second. Looking at the defense, again, a caveat with competition that we'll discuss. Statistically, they are the number 1 pass defense in America. We'll explain why in a minute. Bear with us. I think the one name defensively you really need to focus on, be ready to hear, linebacker Chandler Martin. You got 20 tackles already in 3 games. 15 of them are solo tackles. So that's the one name that you should expect to hear. The defense has 8 sacks in their 3 games. That's a decent number, especially given the level of competition. That is the big caveat to some of their stats. Their number 1 pass defense. They're 3-0, but the competition's not so great. Why is their pass defense number 1 in the country? Well, they played Arkansas State, 120th in the country passing. They've played Navy, 128th in the country passing. And they've played Bethune-Cookman, an FCS team that they can just kind of overwhelm, and did. So, yeah. Missouri's offense will be something, a step up in competition, a level of talent they've not seen this year. So, we'll see what comes of that number and how much it changes. They're 3-0, but that's the competition. It's very ho-hums to this point.
And you could argue
they're not
that
a bad team, though.
Yeah,
go ahead.
You could argue that with the offensive side of the ball too. Who they played counts in for a lot of their stats. So we really, in all honesty, just don't know a whole lot about them yet because they haven't played anybody worth noting.
Yeah, I mean, Navy is kind of awkward, just in all sorts of ways. It took till halftime just to tie Navy at 14. They were trailing much of the first half last week against the Midshipmen. Ended up pulling out a win, I believe it was 28-14 or 28-24, excuse me. So yeah, that was a close game. Did not lead for all that much of it. Now their defense is kind of interesting. Going back to when Mizzou has the ball, it's a 4-2-5. So schematically, not totally different than what Missouri runs, but it's different in that there's 3 down linemen, and then they've got a defensive end, number 22, Allen, is his name. He's in a 2-point stance, normally off a right tackle, so the defense is left. He's 6'3", 240, and David, with that size, being a 2-point stance, it can be to their advantage.
Yeah, it's interesting, Eric, how he lines up, mainly because you have Armand Membu over on the right side going up against him. And if he chooses to line up a little further outside of him, you're looking at a possible pass rush where he can gain speed and just go right by Membu. Another thought is if you throw one of the tight ends out there, to maybe
Hmm.
chip them or slow them up. And if you're doing a quick pass plays, it may not matter. The other thing is with that stance, he can drop back into pass coverage if he needs to. And then just his run game, it'll allow him in that 2 point stance to back up a little bit and flow where he needs to flow and stretch out plays. So it's going to be real interesting to see how they utilize him over on that side.
Yeah, I agree. Now, David, let's get into just kind of the game itself, what we think is going to happen. This game at the Dome, it's going to be a Missouri home game. Let's face it. Memphis returned all but 1,000 tickets from its allotment. That's according to Power Mizzou. So, say call it another 1,000 on secondary market, StubHub or whatever. You're talking no more than a couple thousand Memphis fans scattered throughout the stadium, and the rest is going to be Mizzou fans. All right, call it maybe 30,000 people there, if we're being honest. So it'll be a little bit like a Battlehawks game in terms of crowd. Um, Now for the game itself, I think this is going to be one where it's workmanlike for the offense, just because they're trying to protect both Marcellus Johnson, but especially Brady Cook. So I think they'll limit themselves because of that. Different scenario, protecting themselves really, but the offense might kind of revert because of it. Look a little bit more like the first 2 weeks. So I'm going to have Missouri to win and to cover. I'm going to go 26-17 for the Gold Tigers.
All right. One of the things I want to see in this game from our defense is they really struggled to get pressure on the quarterbacks for Kansas State. And again, totally different team, but I want to see them make an emphasis just on the front four of getting pressure and forcing the quarterback into bad throws, things like that. If they can do that and kind of cut down the time the quarterbacks are holding the ball, it makes things much, much easier for the secondary. Memphis has shown they can pass the ball, so it could be a nice little test for our secondary to see what we really have going on back there. As for the game itself, I honestly think, kind of like you said, it's going to be a workmanlike attitude. Mizzou has 18 players from St. Louis who are going to be making an impact some point or another in this game. So I think they're going to be really hyped up and they're going to come out ready to just dominate. I'm thinking it's going to be a 30-10 victory. And I think if we get up enough, they might pull Cook, not only to get him healthy, but to give Horn a chance as well.
Yeah, if the game is in hand, get Cook out of there. Absolutely.
But all in all, it's going to be a fun one to watch. And hopefully at the end of it, Mizzou is 4-0 and we start looking at Vandy. But until then, continue watching Under the Arch Sports.